Greetings, dear ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dennis Yuzhakov, and I represent the architectural studio partners UA in the United Kingdom. Today I am interviewing our ideologue, our director, and, let's say, our chief, who will tell us, will try to tell us, about his full portfolio, his creative path, and his professional journey. My guest today is Mr. Sergii Kazariants. He is a Ukrainian architect currently in Kyiv, and a very, very talented person. Let's dig in and explore all the nuances of this field and this work. Sergii, just for general understanding, please tell us about your journey in architecture. How did you become a professional, not just an ordinary architect, but a true professional? And what are the key moments in your biography or in your style? How would you describe them?
Thank you for the question. My journey, if you look closely, has indeed been quite significant. I graduated from Kyiv National University of Construction and Architecture 40 years ago. Since then, I have rarely strayed from the chosen path, advancing both in my official positions and in my professional work, holding responsible government leadership roles, and conducting my own work as an architect, company director, and so on. I have worked not only in Kyiv, but also across the former Soviet Union. Later, I also worked in Toronto, Canada for some time, and since 2000, I held executive positions at the main Department of Architecture of Kyiv, right up until recently.
So, I understand your portfolio is quite extensive. What are the key highlights? Or could you describe your own style? Can you define and describe it? What distinguishes you as a specialist?
It's difficult for me to speak about a particular style because I've been very fortunate in my professional life. I've had the opportunity to work in various directions across an extensive range. As I mentioned, this includes urban planning and architectural design. And the most critical factor is the extensive experience that has allowed me to lead and build projects of many different types: residential buildings, public facilities, engineering structures, and transport facilities, which we could discuss separately.
I see. All right. Then maybe you could mention some of the projects you worked on, not necessarily in Ukraine, that you remember well or consider the most significant, those that might leave a lasting legacy. What do you personally regard as meaningful in your portfolio?
I'm not ready to think about legacy yet, but what I've accomplished includes projects in Lithuania, Germany, Italy, and Jamaica. In particular, in Kaunas, Lithuania, I designed a competition project, a science museum. My team and I also built a road bridge over the Nemunas River, as well as a hotel and logistics center in Kaunas. In Italy, I was also fortunate. A vital developer, or rather the owner, approached me with a request to reconstruct a villa in the constructivist style of the 1920s. It is located in the Vatican Protection Zone. I had to work very delicately because Italian law imposes stringent restrictions on any modifications or additions to objects of historical heritage. I would also like to boast about a lucky opportunity I once received when the government of Jamaica invited me to design and build a residential district. When I arrived, I proposed expanding the project's scope. Since they had large areas of municipal land and the original task concerned 60 hectares, I suggested creating a multifunctional complex. Its details are presented in my portfolio, with a total area of about 360 hectares. At that time, both funding and government approval were already in place. They were very enthusiastic about the proposal.
And what year was that?
7 years ago.
So, around 2018?
Yes.
Though someone might watch this video a year later, 7 years ago will mean something different to them. But, yes, late 2010s.
And I should also mention the other side of the world, Kazakhstan, the eastern direction. There, I worked on designing a significant logistics hub covering 550 hectares. It included processing the central railway flows arriving from China, sorting and handling them at a powerful logistics center, and redistributing them toward the west and across Kazakhstan.
So I see you have residential, recreational, and transport projects as well.
That's regarding the international experience. Naturally, there are engineering and transport projects within Ukraine as well.
Let's return to Ukraine. You modestly avoid talking about legacy, but what significant projects do you believe contribute not to the development of architecture per se, but to improving today's Ukrainian infrastructure? What stands out most?
I can recall a significant project I carried out at the request of the then governor of Odessa region, Mr. Saakashvili. It was a development plan for the coastal area of Odessa region. The purpose was to determine its functional designation, feasibility, and transport infrastructure, thereby ensuring the region's future development prospects. One of the elements studied in that work was the Odessa-Reni Road, which has already been constructed and is functioning today, and we contributed our share to this project.
For our viewers who may not be very familiar with Ukraine's geography, let's clarify that Odessa is the maritime capital of Ukraine and the largest city on the Black Sea, and Odessa-Reni is the highway leading to the Romanian border to Danube River.
Exactly. And I would also like to mention, with your permission, two more things. An industrial facility, 2 very powerful grain elevators with a capacity of 6,000 tons, which we designed and built in the western regions of Ukraine.
That's impressive, indeed. So you don't work in just one field, as I understand. You work with teams that can handle, maybe not everything, but quite a lot.
Across a wide range. And my task is to organize the work and achieve the required result professionally.
All right. And another question, just out of curiosity, do you have any limits? For instance, if you needed to design a metropolitan subway system from scratch, or develop an entirely new residential district? You seem to have an urbanistic vision. How well can your team handle such non-trivial tasks?
In my portfolio, there are numerous detailed development plans for Kyiv. I also initiated the development of a new master plan for Kyiv and several other urban planning assignments across Ukraine, in Odessa, Lviv, and Chernivtsi. So I've had to solve quite a large number of urban planning tasks over the years. My first master plan, which I supervised in collaboration with a significant design institute, was completed back in 1990. Hard to believe, but yes.
So the experience is serious. You can design not only buildings, but also entire districts and large development areas. Let's return to Italy for a moment. You mentioned a project with very tight and strict architectural constraints. I understand that when working internationally, each country and region has its own norms, regulations, and laws, and they differ from place to place. How do you handle that? How do you approach a new country and solve these tasks?
I understand your question. When we work at the concept or sketch level, there are standard rules across many countries that are pretty similar, mainly restrictions on the functional use of a given territory, which we receive from the client and take into account during concept development. When we begin working more thoroughly on the project stage and construction documentation, we are absolutely obliged to comply with all local legislation and regulatory requirements. For that, we always need what I call an adapter, a representative of the local architectural and design structures. We collaborate with them and jointly carry out the required tasks.
So, as I understand it, for the client, you deliver the solution regardless. by finding the appropriate specialists who ensure the project meets the legal standards and requirements of the local jurisdiction?
Let's put it this way. I begin and finish the conversation with the client, ensuring the required result. Everything that happens in between is my responsibility, organizing the process professionally and ensuring compliance with legislation.
I see, thank you. That's very important because today we are working in the UK, and clients will naturally be especially interested in this question. But if you already have experience working in other countries, I don't think working in the UK will be a problem. Now let's return to Kyiv, because from what I know, judging by your portfolio, there are quite a few significant objects for the city and even for Ukraine as a whole. For example, I know the former River Terminal, which, as far as I know, has become an institute today. Please briefly tell us about that object.
Indeed, this is a fascinating building constructed in the 1950s as a river terminal, and it was extremely popular at the time. However, times changed, and its original function became irrelevant. For many years, it stood abandoned. At one point, we even developed a design concept for it as a service facility. But eventually, an investor appeared, an American institute, which said it wanted exactly this building within its parameters, so we adapted the technical solutions we had already developed to the new function. Today, the building is fully operating. A proper restoration was carried out because it is an architectural heritage site of local importance, and now it is in excellent condition.
Great. As far as I know, the interchange and the square around it were also redesigned.
The square is a separate story. Back in 2003 to 2004, when I was still working as the head of architecture, we developed a major reconstruction plan for that entire area. A highway used to run through the site, and we covered it with a large platform, a huge square, and designed a quite serious traffic interchange. By we, I mean the entire team that carried out the work, not me personally. And today, the area is alive and active, with lots of people using it, and traffic flows smoothly without obstacles. Now, I would like to present Poshtova Square, where our site is located. And to understand how organically it fits into this environment, we are showing an overview video. This is the former Kyiv River Terminal building. It was commissioned in 1961 and served its primary purpose for many years, handling enormous flows of people and mooring a vast number of boats and ships at its piers. Those former times have faded into history, and the terminal building was almost abandoned, remaining unused for many years. Later, the idea of a comprehensive reconstruction of Poshtova Square emerged, as part of which this platform was created, forming a plaza in front of the building and covering major highways. At the time we began our work, the project was envisioned as an entertainment center with restaurants, bars, and similar venues. However, the concept later changed, and the building was ultimately given, as we can see, to an American university. The rare and historically significant elements related to this architectural heritage site have been restored, as it is a protected monument. It is impossible to alter or rebuild anything here. After the restoration works were completed, the building has been successfully operating and remains in use to this day. By the way, when construction work was underway to develop a shopping center in this square during initial groundwork, archaeologists discovered remains of an 11th century street in ancient Kyiv. These excavations were preserved and today constitute a recognized monument of history and archaeology. Very interesting. In its architecture, the building resembles a river vessel, smoothly and solidly moving along the Dnipro. In this way, it has become part of Kyiv's history, I believe for a long time to come. The building's facade, facing the embankment, reveals itself in an interesting way from this perspective. And during the reconstruction, as I already mentioned, considering that this is a historical and architectural monument, the main architectural elements of this building had to be preserved. Another brief view of Poshtova Square, which over the past few years has taken shape as we see it today.
Thank you. Interesting clarification. Another landmark object from your portfolio is the Ukrainian House. It's located on European Square, either at the beginning or the end of Kreshchatyk, the central street of Kyiv, for those who don't know. As far as I know, this building is also part of your portfolio. Could you tell us a couple of words about it, what it is and its function?
The Ukrainian House is the former so-called Lenin Museum, which was later transformed into a cultural center. Unfortunately, the planning structure that had remained from the museum days had hardly changed, so new tasks were eventually set. At that time, I was the chief architect at a central design institute, and we developed a restoration project for an architectural heritage site of local importance. The project included expanding specific spaces, modifying the planning structure, and implementing modern architectural and technical solutions. Unfortunately, due to the start of the war in 2022, these works have been put on hold, but all the project decisions approved by the Ministry of Culture remain valid. As soon as circumstances allow, we will return to implementing them. Today, I would like to introduce you to a rather interesting building called the Ukrainian House, which is located in the very center of Kyiv, at the beginning of Kreshchatyk Street, with its main facade facing European Square. Today is a working day. There is a heavy traffic. European Square. In the distance, the Philharmonic House. Here is the main facade of the Ukrainian House. The history of this building is quite interesting. It was put into operation back in Soviet times as the Central Lenin Museum. The building consists of 3 above-ground floors and 2 underground floors, totaling 17.5 thousand square meters. With Ukraine's independence in 1991, political orientations and preferences naturally changed. And this building was repurposed as a business education center called the Ukrainian House. Its restrained and solemn architecture has remained almost unchanged to this day. Since 2010, this site has been designated a historical monument, and, in accordance with regulatory requirements, can only be worked on in restoration mode. In 2021, I had the opportunity to work as the chief architect of a large state institute and had to carry out a project to develop scientific and design documentation for a historical monument, the Ukrainian House. This status imposes certain restrictions on what can and cannot be done with this object. With this project, we envisaged a light glass structure at the rear of the building with the development of a conference hall, a global change in terms of engineering support. That is a total replacement of engineering equipment, the construction of underground car parks, restaurants and platforms on top of the so-called drum. The main goal was to provide a modern solution in line with international standards for a facility whose status and function envisaged a multifunctional cultural center of national importance, hosting events such as congresses, festivals, concerts, and exhibitions. In other words, an extensive range of events. The project was completed and passed expert review. Unfortunately, the outbreak of hostilities slowed down the implementation of this project. And we will, of course, return to it as soon as the situation allows. As we can see, this object fits organically into the unique landscape. Vladimirska Gorka is a historical monument of the city of Kyiv. Its parameters fully comply with all urban planning requirements, and our task for the future is to do what doctors should do. To follow the principle of not harming, but to do better and make things more beautiful.
Great. I think we'll still meet separately to talk about some other notable objects. I know you have an airport in your portfolio, and I have more questions. I hope you'll find time to discuss them later. But for now, one last question. I know you are entering the UK market, and you have no difficulty adapting projects to British standards. So briefly, what services and capabilities does StudioPartnersUA under your leadership offer to the UK market today? What types of projects can you take on, and how can you help potential clients?
I can state the following directly. Today, I am not ready to enter the market as a standalone company, because each market has its own specifics, rules, and traditions. Time is needed to adapt to the market and prove one's capability. Therefore, the main objective is collaboration with companies and studios already operating in the UK across a wide range of tasks. We are also ready and, in fact, aiming to support companies that want to enter the Ukrainian market through the reconstruction program for destroyed facilities and infrastructure. In this context, we provide comprehensive assistance, not just as an adapter but across the full range, since I can ensure cooperation with governmental structures at virtually any level.
I see. That's excellent information, especially for companies wanting to enter the Ukrainian market. You can communicate with regulators and high-level offices, so to speak.
Yes, exactly.
Well, our conversation is coming to an end. There are many more questions I'd like to ask, but unfortunately we are limited on time. I think we will also make separate inserts about the river terminal, European Square, and the Ukrainian House. For those interested, all contact information will be available under this video. Website, WhatsApp, and email. Sergii, if you have additional contact channels, please let us know. We'll include them below.
As you correctly noted, all contact details are provided on the website, email, website, and LinkedIn. We are open to communication and cooperation across a wide range, providing maximum comfort for any companies or individuals who wish to establish professional relations with us.
All right, thank you very much for your time, Sergii. I hope this is not our last meeting. We will still talk about some of the other projects in your portfolio. Your portfolio is exciting, including design, industrial objects, and social objects such as parks. We've already done a video on Sofiivka. I'm sure you'll find time to discuss more with us. And for our viewers, please subscribe to the channel. We'll be happy to see you here and present new interviews and information about Sergii's portfolio. Thank you again, Sergii, and see you next time.
All the best.
Thank you.